Alright, guys, welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show, where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and an LGBTQ approach and a humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet. And we are going on with our marathon of the UDHR, and we are on Article 9, that's lap 9. We are running very well. And in Article 9, it's a ban on arbitrary detention. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. So many people have gone through arbitrary detention. It was a very common device by the colonialists in very many countries. They used to detain people arbitrarily, and they used to put them in disastrous conditions in the name of detention. And even after independence in African countries, there are some presidents in Africa who used the law of detention to arrest very many political dissidents. They didn't even change the colonial law. They loved it because it was actually the problem of colonial legislation, it's very dictatorial, and it's because it came from the colony, especially British colony was a kingdom. So the governor was the head of the colony, and the law was very dictatorial. It was very monarchical. And in a monarchy, laws tend to be they are not democratic. What you should understand, the most important thing you should understand in politics, especially African politics and third world politics, they were colonized by kingdoms, not democracies. And it's only France that has an excuse that it was not a kingdom. Yes, but the rest of the colonial powers were actually kingdoms. And this is what we have. And so, no arbitrary arrest for anyone. No one shall be deprived of his liberty. So you should not be deprived of your liberty. If you're going to be arrested, someone should inform you the reasons for your arrest and the charges that are being laid against you. And when you are arrested, you should be brought before the judge and be entitled to a trial within a reasonable time or to release. And you can be subject to appear for trial at any other stage of the judicial proceedings, and should occasion arise for execution of the judgment. If you're deprived of your liberty and by arrest or detention, you shall be entitled to take proceedings before a court in order that the court may decide without delay the lawfulness of your detention and order your release if your detention was not lawful. And if you're a victim of unlawful arrest or detention, you shall have an enforceable right to compensation. So there you are. Very, very firm rights for you. No one shall be imprisoned merely on the ground of inability to fulfill a contractual obligation. There you are. So you cannot be arrested. I see this in Africa a lot. People go and arrest people because they have failed to keep a contract, and they go and get police to arrest them. No, that is illegal. It is because you have to have a trial to show that this person did not fulfill his contractual obligation. So you don't imprison a person based on a contractual. And then another thing, a contract is a law on its own. You see, so it's not a state law. Yes, contracts are not made by the state. They are made by individuals. So that's why the state can't imprison you. All right. Okay, that's a very funny. Yeah, I see it a lot in Africa, and it's very funny. Okay, there you are. Africa is also protecting people. No one may be deprived of his freedom except for reasons or conditions previously laid down by law. In particular, no one may be. So in Africa, the African Charter of Human Rights, People's Rights, they have twisted it. Everyone has liberty, but there are some reasons that can be laid down by law that can deprive you of your liberty. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. In Africa, because of the politics, the political history of Africa, it is mixed with monarchical legislation and democratic legislation. Democratic legislations tend to be very liberal. Monarchical legislations tend to be very rigid. And so when you see the word reasons, just know they are going back to the colonial system, because the colonial system really used detention for reasons they found to be right. Okay, I think we're done with arbitrary detention. Of course, very many people have been detained. As I told you what happened in Africa, majority of the freedom fighters were detained. And it was a wrong detention. It was unlawful. And it's so weird. 1948, this was signed, but the colonialists went on and arrested people. It's so weird. It was ironic. That's because, and please, every time we're doing a UDHR video, just understand, it is not a legally binding document. That's the sad part of it. So that's why Africans who are being arrested could not sue the colonial governments while they were in power, when they were detained, because they were in power. So that's why I told you the second article we read, Article 2, is a very fishy one, because it needed to tell the colonialist countries that please liberate your countries, then they come, liberate your colonies, then they can come and sign the UDHR. But we'll find out at the end of running the 30 laps, we will read and show you how the countries signed up to UDHR.